is actually a Roman child's coffin, a very rare find, and it held flowers until it was identified.
That is still incredibly compacted.
Imagine waking up to a live cheetah roaming your backyard, or a loaded gun in the hands of your kid. This is not clickbait, but real-time mysterious things found in people's backyards.
It's an actual safe!
And the craziest of all? A farmer found this massive object in his backyard and was astounded by its identity. Before you scream, let's take you through what a Wiltshire man unearthed in his backyard. Roman villa. If this man had never thought of converting an old barn for his son to play ping pong in, we wouldn't be talking about this amazing discovery. Luke Irwin is a rug designer from Wiltshire who's been living in his house for some years and is only known by a few people. But in 2016, he made headlines when workers made a discovery while laying cables for ping pong. All they knew was there were nearly perfectly preserved mosaic tiles in the garden. It all became clear after Luke called the Wiltshire Archaeology Service and Historic England to come and take a look. And voila, Luke has been living with the biggest Roman villa in Britain at the bottom of his garden. It was discovered that a gigantic Roman villa once stood in that garden more than 1,000 years ago. The villa was believed to have been built around 175 AD and 220 AD and occupied until the end of the 4th century. According to experts, it was 3 stories high with 2 courtyards made of fancy materials. This indicates that a very wealthy and influential family once resided there. Mind-blowing. But that's not all. On the site were Roman coins, animal bones, brooches, and shockingly, a child's coffin that Luke had been using as a flower pot. That's totally creepy. But as they say, ignorance is bliss. One question though, what would you do if you discovered a hoard of gold coins? You will probably live your dream life for a while if you made this discovery. But sadly, this isn't about your backyard. The discovery site belongs to a North California couple who prefer to be identified as John and Mary. The two were walking their dog on their property in 2014 when they found the biggest and most valuable gold coin hoard ever unearthed in the United States. Surprisingly, this discovery was made on the same path they had walked 100 times with their dog. But on this day, their eyes caught the rusted top of a metal can sticking up out of the eroded ground. Out of curiosity, they dug out the can, took it home, and opened it. To their biggest surprise, they found a lot of dirt and a stack of $20 Liberty Head gold coins from the 1890s. Wait, what would you have done? Go back to the site to dig some more? That was exactly what John and Mary did. And guess what? They immediately found another can. Crazily enough, that's not all. They found 5 more smaller cans, and 1 more can that was detected by a metal detector. In total, the 8 cans contained 1,427 gold coins. Precisely, 1,373 of these coins were $20 coins, 50 were $10 coins, and 4 were $5 coins. They were found stacked in chronological order and dated between 1847 and 1894. This arrangement of coins and the varying conditions of the cans suggests that they were intentionally buried by someone. Most likely, only that person knows about the coins, considering how long it's been there. We're talking coins with a total value of $27,980. That's enough to make anyone panic, just like John and Mary. The two initially buried the treasure and called on coin dealer Don Kagan and numismatic expert David McCarthy of Kagan's, Incorporated, to examine the hoard. And what they found is nothing short of all that has made your heart race. But even more exciting is one of the coins that's worth an estimated $1 million on its own. Little wonder John and Mary concealed their identities. If this discovery got you in your backyard digging for treasure, be careful. Someone found Crocodile in the Pool. If your backyard has a swimming pool, you may just want to double-check before jumping in. In 2023, this Plantation Key resident was wandering in his backyard when he stumbled upon a 10-foot crocodile in his pool. According to reports, he immediately called a wildlife control expert, Todd Hardwick, to remove the reptile. Hardwick, who has over 40 years of experience in this field, didn't find the experience funny at all. It began with a mini crocodile battle, with the reptile splashing in the water, trying to overpower Hardwick. The process led to a slippery pool deck, turning an already dangerous task into an even scarier one. Eventually, Hardwick was able to pull out the crocodile and put it under control with tape and a rope. Just as you must have guessed, the crocodile was moved back into its natural habitat. But that resident learned the importance of a fence that he would never forget. Next is a whale fossil. This discovery is all thanks to the curiosity of a 16-year-old known as Lindsay Stallworth. She was always digging up her family's timber property and has always discovered one fossil or another. But in 2023, she decided to do some digging with her biology teacher, Andrew Gentry. That day, they were digging to find shark teeth. But as they dug, they found bigger bones and eventually a piece of lower jaw. At first, they didn't realize what it was until they found a huge tooth that looked like it belonged to a whale. Upon closer inspection, they realized it belonged to a prehistoric whale of about 4 to 5 feet long. During an interview with Lindsay, it became clear that she has been gathering fossils on her family's land for a very long time. Before this discovery, Lindsay had been quiet about her other discoveries because she thought no one could explain them. But thanks to her teacher, who relied on data from the U.S. Geological Survey, she now knows that they found the remains of a 34-million-year-old whale. According to reports, the whale remains suggest it might be a smaller relative of Basilosaurus cetoides, potentially a Ziggerheisa. This whale could measure between 15 and 20 feet in length. This species is known to have lived in the Alabama coasts about 34 to 40 million years ago. And this has further increased the significance of Lindsay and Gentry's discovery. However, they believe that if they continued to dig, they would find the whale's whole skeleton, but doing that will take them several years. You may just have to stay tuned for updates on this discovery. That's one impressive find by a kid, but this next kid's discovery could literally take your breath away. A loaded gun. Right, a loaded gun was discovered by a 5-year-old in Huntersville. No matter how scared you are right now, it's nothing compared to how Mike Haga felt that day. Haga's heart must have skipped 8 beats at once, seeing his son with a gun. But his fear must have tripled after he realized that the gun was even loaded. Calmly, Haga told his son to drop the gun on the ground while he gently walked toward him. After Haga took the gun from his son, he then discovered that the gun was not only loaded, but also had its safety off. No doubt, if the boy had picked up the gun wrongly, we can only imagine how bad things would have gone. As a father concerned about his family's safety, he unloaded the gun and then called the cops. According to the police, the gun was reported stolen from Charlotte and may have been used in Huntersville a few months before discovery. It appears that firearms theft is the new normal in Charlotte, as hundreds of firearms have been reported stolen. Many have been taken from vehicles during break-ins, and some taken from homes. In our opinion, the 5-year-old is the hero of our story for telling a grown-up about his unusual discovery. Of course, it's good to tell someone about your discovery, but maybe not something like cursed cash. This cache allegedly killed people, and it was discovered in a man's backyard. But before we mourn the dead, let's go back to how it all started. In August 2011, Sabaj, an unemployed carpenter, went to his backyard to pick some broccoli for dinner. There, he stumbled upon 2 nylon bags. He picked them up, opened them, and discovered that they contained funds wrapped in plastic. What Sabaj did next may just shock you. He took these cash bags to the police and reported his find. For an unemployed man like Sabaj, you must agree that was unexpected. When asked why he didn't keep the money for himself, he mentioned that he feared that the owner may come back for it. Shortly after he reported his find, a Naperville liquor store owner made a claim to the money. The store owner said the money was taken from him during an armed robbery, but he soon withdrew his statement. No one knows why he did that. However, the most shocking claim came from Sabaj's neighbor, Dolores Johnson, who said she kept the money there on purpose. According to Johnson, she kept the money outside Sabaj's backyard because it was cursed cash. Doesn't that make you wonder why she was claiming the ownership? Well, Johnson's daughter said her mother suffered from dementia and that she knew about the money. She even mentioned how they counted the money together and was able to give specifics about the find. Not long after these claims, Johnson died, which made people believe the cash was actually cursed. Authorities then determined that within a year, if no one was identified as the owner of the cash, Sabaj could claim it. Sabaj then got a lawyer to help him with the case, but unfortunately, Sabaj died before the deal was finalized. Sabaj's death further cemented people's belief about the mysterious cash. Eventually, the money was shared between Sabaj's son and Johnson's daughter, but since then, nothing scary has been reported. You must agree that's one scary discovery, but definitely not as scary as a cheetah in the backyard. That sounds like a prank, and that's what Julianne thought when her son, Toby, said the same. But because 9-year-old Toby was sweating profusely, Julie had to look out the kitchen window. And guess what? A cheetah was attacking her son's bicycle. Now, let's rewind a little bit. Toby was in his home's backyard playing with his bicycle when he suddenly saw a cheetah. The 6-feet-long cheetah was standing about 15 feet away from him, but he knew better to drop his bike and flee. Once the 66-pound cheetah got to Toby's bike, it sat there, bit chunks off the saddle, and ripped the tires with its claws. Once Julie realized she had a real cheetah in her backyard, she called the police, who came with zookeepers. Apparently, the cheetah escaped from a nearby animal sanctuary because their electric fence was faulty. According to the zookeepers, the cheetah is named Akia, and it has been in the sanctuary since it was a baby. But it seemed Akia loved the open more. It was reluctant to return home as it tried to bite and scratch the handlers trying to put a harness on it. In the end, Akia is taken back home, but Toby hasn't recovered from the traumatic experience till today. We have an idea what you would do if you were Toby, but what would you do if you found a treasure box? This discovery has a tale that can be titled Bamboo Bob, the Ninja Burglar, and the Stolen Treasure of Staten Island. But this story starts with the backyard owner, Matthew Emanuel. In 2014, Emanuel moved with his family into his house in the Tot Hill neighborhood. After a while, they discovered a rusty metal box on the edge of the property, but didn't pay attention to it. Fast forward to the spring of 2018. Disturbingly, hungry deer ravaged the home's vegetation. For more privacy, Emanuel called in a horticulturist known as Bamboo Bob to help them plant bamboo in the yard. When Bob arrived and started working, he was surprisingly attached to the rusty metal box. He took a closer look at the 2 feet wide and 1.5 feet deep box, and all he saw was dirt. Out of curiosity, he asked Emanuel about the box, who said it was just an old electric box. But this box didn't seem like an electric box to Bob. This made Bob dig it from the dirt, turn it over, and realize it had a dial. At that moment, they all realized it was a locked safe in hibernation. The safe was about 80 to 100 pounds heavy, which indicated it had something in it at least. They pried it open with a pick, and the first thing they saw was stacks of wet cash stuck together. As they looked further, they discovered small bags of gold, diamond rings, earrings, and other jewelry. Emanuel found that disturbing but didn't call the police. He took his time to peel apart some of the bills and counted them. They totaled about $16,000 in cash, mostly in $100 notes with a few $50 notes. While taking out the cash, Emmanuel discovered an item with an address on it. He looked up the address online and voila, it was linked to one of the houses in his neighborhood. Emmanuel went to the house and asked them if they had ever been robbed. As expected, the family answered they were robbed by the so-called ninja burglar back in 2011. You see, Ninja Burglar was a masked prolific thief who preyed upon Todd Hill and other neighborhoods. Eventually, when a rapist named Robert Costanzo was arrested in 2016, he confessed that he was the notorious Ninja Burglar. However, the statute of limitations had expired in many of the cases at the time of his arrest, so he was slammed with just 3 counts of burglary. In the end, he was convicted and sentenced to 22 years in prison. The family who lost their treasure box recovered it, but it isn't clear what Emmanuel got in return for his faithfulness. A happy ending, right? Before we dig deeper, let's discuss our subscriber's pick. A Russian farmer found a massive object in his backyard and was astounded by its identity. One thing everyone knows is that this is a submarine, but what has baffled everyone is where the sub was found. For those who don't know, a submarine is used by the military and scientists to travel underwater. Militaries use subs to patrol the ocean waters and to attack enemy ships during a war. For starters, this man is a farmer, so he has nothing to do with a sub. There have been series of speculations concerning this image. Some believe it's a hoax, some believe it's a prop, while some believe it's an ad. Well, what do you think about this image? Let us know in the comments section. Next on our list of mysterious discoveries in people's backyards is human remains. One thing you won't expect to find in your backyard is human remains. But while Ali Erturk was digging a trout pond in his father's backyard, he was met with this unpleasant surprise. The 14-year-old boy was scared at first, thinking that someone must have committed and hid a crime in his father's house. He called his father and neighbors to see what he had discovered, and jointly, they agreed to call the police. Soon, their home received several experts and police officers who spent the day removing the remains. After examination, the experts confirmed that the remains belonged to a person who lived a millennium ago. Although they were unable to say his age, sex, or identity, they determined he was an American Indian. According to reports, more examination is being done to have more information about the remains. But for now, let's discuss this discovery of meteorites. We've seen a lot of mysterious things on this list, and meteorites are just another. But this isn't just your regular meteorite story. This is about a guy named Logic who claims that aliens are after him. Here's the gist. Back in 2007, Logic claimed a meteorite struck his house for the first time. It sure didn't feel like a big deal until a second meteorite struck his home the second time. At the time, he still didn't feel there was a problem until more meteorites struck his house before the end of the year. Altogether, 4 meteorites struck his house in 2007. At this time, Logic had confirmed that this only happens whenever rain falls, but was still unsure why it was happening to him. In 2008, the 5th meteorite fell on his house, and again, it happened when the rain was falling. He described the experience as frightening as he believed that aliens were mad at him. Although scientists confirmed that the rocks are all meteorites, they could not explain how such a rare event could happen to the same person 6 times. A lot of people have failed to believe Logic, but when he was seen reinforcing his roof, many believed he was indeed going through a tough time from the aliens. The truth is, it's hard to believe this story, but what's harder to believe is the story of this haunted doll. This one will definitely remind you of Chucky in Child's Play. A Houston family suddenly discovered this Elsa doll in their backyard and gained attention for it. It's not because a doll is mysterious, but because it was not supposed to be there. The story starts in 2013 when Emily Madonia gifted her daughter this Elsa doll. As a fan of Frozen, the little girl enjoyed listening to the doll singing the movie's soundtrack, Let It Go. But things got creepy when the doll started to speak and sing in Spanish instead of English. To make things worse, it would even sing and speak after it was turned off. For that, Emily's husband, Matt, threw it away. But the next day, it was found on their wooden bench. Initially, they believed it was a prank from their neighbors, so they tightly wrapped it in a garbage bag, put it in another garbage bag, and then into the garbage truck. According to Emily, they saw the home's garbage collected the same day, which seemed like a great goodbye. They traveled the next day and forgot all about it until they got back home and found the doll again in the backyard. That day, Emily took to Facebook to post the doll's picture and sought help from his followers. Soon, Emily thought of mailing the doll to an online friend, Chris Hogan, in Minnesota, without a return address so it wouldn't be mailed back. According to Emily, while she was boxing the doll, it laughed for 30 seconds, which had never happened before. She then decided that she would open up to spiritual solutions if the doll ever came back. The doll, however, arrived safely at the home of Hogan, who taped the doll to the brush guard of his Jeep. She then wrote on Facebook, "If anything weird happens, I'm welding her into a steel pipe and sinking it in Lake of the Woods." Sounds like a good riddance type of option, but can somebody call Lorraine and Ed Warren? Mammoth tooth. If you're one of those kids with wild imaginations, you definitely imagined seeing a mammoth. Unfortunately, they are extinct, but to 9-year-old Jeremiah Longbreak, he was a step closer to a mammoth. Every weekday after school, Jeremiah goes to his grandmother's rural Oregon home. There, he waits for his mom to come back from work. One of those days, after arriving at the Winston home, he went outside to play. He got bored of jumping on the trampoline, and next, he swung on a swing. After a long time, he decided to check out the creek that runs through his grandmother's 4-acre backyard. With a stick in his hand, Jeremiah's eyes caught something. He thought it was a plastic container floating in the creek, and after picking it up, he went in to show his mother. Although it looked like nothing, Jeremiah's mother believed it was more. She then posted images of the find on Facebook, hoping her friends would have some answers. The next day, she saw a lot of comments mentioning that it looked like a mammoth tooth. Stunned, she reached out to an expert, Patrick O'Grady, an archaeologist with the Museum of Natural and Cultural History at the University of Oregon. O'Grady confirmed that it was indeed a mammoth tooth fragment based on its distinct features, including its shape and rows of enamel plates. An excited Jeremiah told his classmates about his find, but they didn't believe him. Soon, the discovery gained attention, and Jeremiah was on the news. He took the news article to his school and showed his friends, adding a feather to his cap. Bowling balls. You're probably asking what could be mysterious about bowling balls, but this is not just about 2 or 3 bowling balls. The story is not even a weird one. It's about a person who bought an old house, wanted to renovate it, and stumbled upon a piece of history. Meet David Olson of Norton Shores, the man who got national attention for renovating his house. While the project was underway, he came across spheres buried in the sand. He took a closer look and it was a bowling ball. Not just one, not 2, not even a handful, but 158 bowling balls. The deeper he went, the more he pulled out. Let's take a moment to appreciate this man's patience, because how was he not tired of pulling out 158 balls? The balls came in different sizes and colors, but the bizarre thing was none of them had finger holes. One other thing common to these balls is the word Brunswick engraved on them. This made David call the Brunswick Bowling Alley in Muskegon, and he got a response. He was told that back in the 1950s, they made damaged bowling balls available for people to take for free and use as landfills. There's no way to know for certain if that's what the previous homeowner did, but given where the bowling balls were found, it seems logical. Good to know what possibly happened, but what will anyone do with that number of bowling balls? Build a bowling alley? Maybe not. David said he would donate 10 of them to a local church and give some to the Heritage Museum in downtown Muskegon. As for the rest, he still doesn't know what to do with them. But if he would be receptive enough, building a bowling alley isn't such a bad idea. Dinosaur bone. How cool would it be to see a real dinosaur today? Unfortunately, they went extinct millions of years ago. Today, fossils of this species serve as a good way to learn about them. A property owner who lives in Pombal, Portugal, recently found the fossils of a dinosaur. But his discovery didn't start now. It all began in 2017, while doing construction in his yard. He found different fragments of bones that he could make nothing of until much later, when experts found what could be the largest sauropod dinosaur. It is believed to be the herbivorous quadrupedal dinosaur with a long neck and tails. After analysis, the remains correspond to a dinosaur that was 39 feet tall and 82 feet long. What makes this discovery even more interesting is that its ribs were complete in their anatomical position. By all accounts, this species of dinosaur is believed to have roamed the Earth about 160 to 100 million years ago. This makes you wonder how the fossils have been preserved for that long. Maybe it's true after all. Mother Nature takes care of its things. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.